Hi, everyone. Welcome to the ninth episode of A Positive Response. It has been a while since I made another episode, but that is because I've been working hard to find an incredible guest. I think we just kept raising the bar higher and higher, and then I was just stuck. I didn't know where to go. And then I came across someone that I just thought was phenomenal. And I think it's time to start having a conversation with men, because until now we've been having a very female-driven conversation about men and about females, but I think it's time that we bring in the other side of the dialogue. And my really brave guest today, who is taking on being my first male guest, is Mardoche Mertilus. He also goes by Mardo. He lives in Montreal, like me, and so I'm really excited for that. And he's really interesting background. So he's worked with youth all his life, I think like over 10 years. And when he became a father, he told me he started wondering what the system had to offer for men. And then he found out very quickly that it didn't have much to offer. So he told me that he went back home and he decided to pitch a class to start his own prenatal classes. So it's so great to have you here. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here. Yes. So would you just like to start with just, give us a little bit of a background history and how you got to this point, basically?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thank you for having me on this platform. It's a pleasure for me to talk about my story, but also to share to people and to relate with people that care about fatherhood and paternity, because I think it's a great subject. I think it's a subject that we can't deny. That's important for the well-being of the child also. So it's a pleasure for me. I just wanted to mention that. So yeah, my background, the way I started, about like 10 years ago, I was hired as an outreach worker in the West Island to do outreach work in different areas of the West Island for youth between the age of 12 and 25. And while I was doing that job, we started a project also named Father at Heart. And the goal of the project was kind of giving to me and to be like, Bo Mardo, how can we reach to dads and get dads together to kind of understand what were the needs of the dads in the West Island. So we started that project. I started having meetings with dads. There was a lot of dads that I knew in the area. So I was able to get them together to kind of give me a little bit of clue what kind of activities that they would like nonprofit or even the city to offer them as dads or even as a family. So when we started that, that was going well. And I had my first son. So when I had my first son, I remember that like I had a lot of question at the moment that I really wanted to ask the nurse about like, when you're taking care of the kid and mom's not there, and I don't want always have to relate on mom to do some kind of stuff or to ask mom, am I doing this right or no? So I wanted to ask those questions, but I felt like the nurse was so focused on my wife and the needs of my wife that like I felt it was inappropriate for me to kind of ask those questions. So I didn't. So I started looking up what was happening in the CLCs when it came to prenatal classes. So I realized that, yeah, it's class that are open to both parents, but it was really focusing still on mom. Depending on the nurse that was giving the class, the topics of the class were really focusing on moms. And in the system that we're living on, the way dad was perpetuated in the situation is that dad was there to support the needs of mom during the pregnancy and after. But there was no really fine line that defined what the dad could give to help mom or to give to the child. So I went home, like I was mentioning to you, and I started telling my wife, you know what, I'm going to create something and this is going to be great. And my wife was like, whatever, Mardo, you and your ideas. So I sat down and I started looking really in details everything that was said in the class because I didn't want to create something that was already said. So I started picking on little stuff that they were not talking about really, and also on my personal experience. So I started finding my own answers. I started planning also that in the class, I thought it was missing all the hands-on, all the action, the really hands-on. So I thought it would be fun to add the car seat the swaddling, the diapers, to maybe get the dads together and to start putting diapers, because some of the dads, they never did that in their
Of
life.
course not. No,
And
no dad
no,
that I know has ever changed a diaper until they had their own kid. And even
exactly.
then, most of them are pretty resilient to changing diapers, I realized.
But it's really funny. It's really funny when they do it all together. And also because with the experience I had with Father at Heart, I realized that when you get a bunch of mans together, even if it's a man that has one or two child and a man that just had a child, the fact that they could be together without women being there and they could share together, all the feeling of judgments, it all goes down. And it's not true that men don't talk, because when they get to an environment that they could speak out, they could speak. Because to give you an example, my class are 2 hours, but it's always dragging on to like 3 hours until the nurse is like, we gotta go. So yeah, so it was a great opportunity for me to offer that to the CLC. So what we did is that before we had the funding of Avenir l'Enfant in the West Island. So I presented the project for the prenatal classes, and they said, "Oh, you know what? We're gonna try it." But I remember from some nurse that they were telling me, "You know what, Mardo? Just don't be disappointed if that don't show up. Some of them sometimes they don't even come to the 4 classes, with the mom." So they were kind of preparing me for like it's not gonna work. But I was like, why would it not work? I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels like that. So we started doing so. And at first, yeah, it was slowly by slowly because it was new. Men's were like, why am I going to take a fifth class? Because the CLC offers the 4 class, and this one was specially for dads. And the guys were a little bit hesitant. They were like, oh, why am I going to do this? But slowly and surely, by my second year, my class were full. And when I'm talking about evaluations over the years, we could calculate that around 13 on 10, like greatest success. Even some of the comments were like, we don't even understand why women don't participate in that kind of class, because there's all the hands-on that I was telling you that I'm offering. And like for a car seat, for example, mom and dad, if you guys never have used a car seat, you guys don't know how to do it. They don't show you that at the CLC. And before it was just, oh, you could go to a police station and they'll just fix it for you and they'll just place it in the car.
Yeah.
But to get the dad's hands on, and for me, it was an opportunity to offer to the dad a little something for them when they go back home. They could say to mom, you know what? I know how to do that. So do you want me to show you how to do it? Because we're always looking for mom to tell us, and usually all the information goes to mom, and after the mom gives the information to the dad. So to give a little bit of power back to the dads and to be like, yes, this is my child too, and this is my paternity too, but let's do this together. You could bring me some stuff, but I could definitely bring my point of view. So I started doing that. It went really well. Like I said, I'm still doing them. The RVP, which is le Regroupement pour la Valorisation de la Paternité, which has been existing in Quebec for the last 20 years. They offer trainings to different organizations or institutions that want to work with dads. They approach me and we want you to apply. I'm like, apply for Felix Fella's position. For me, it was like, okay, RVP is like this. When we talk about paternity in Quebec, so for me, I was like a little bit intimidated, but yeah, I applied for the job, got the position. So now I actually have a national position around Quebec. So I'm the trainer and agent de liaison for the RVP. So my main role is that any organization or institution in Quebec that would love to get trainings for their employees on how to include dads in their services, I go there. So I move around a lot. I go there and I give them trainings.
The point you're making, which is very interesting, is that it's not that men don't want to help. There's no place. Like, we haven't made a designated place. So
Exactly.
you are really smart in creating really specific designated spaces for men to be a part of that. So, I mean, it's just really interesting to hear. So I would love to hear more about the actual trainings, like what you think really has been working, or do you like what about some of the men that you've trained? Like, what have they said to you? What have been their experience?
I would say most of the guys that comes the future fathers that are now fathers that participated in those class. What came out the most was like, wow, thank you, because I was like, why? They're like, because I get to ask questions and I get to feel that I'm not alone in this, and that's the most important thing that I realized in my prenatal class is that when one guy starts to talk, the other rounds around them, sometimes, in a group, you might have like on 10 people, 7 of them that are a little bit shy, one that really doesn't care. And, you have maybe two that are like waiting to see who's going to start before, they can start talking.
Exactly.
But after maybe 10, 20 minutes, you see people turning heads around and looking around and they're like, oh my God, we are all living the same thing. Yes, maybe some women, react differently with their hormones compared to other ones, but at the end, we're all going through the same thing. And if I feel that I'm not alone, I'm more comfortable to talk about it and to ask questions about like, how can I do this? How can I talk to my wife or to my spouse? Because one of the things that I like to say in my class and that I prioritize is first of all, communication is the key. And I tell the dads, I don't know how long you've been with your partner. I have no clue how long you've been with them, but you have to understand that for the longest time, you were first priority and she was your first priority.
Mhm.
And now that you guys are having a child, the child becomes both parents' first priority. So
Exactly.
that means, and I'll give you examples, if your wife used to cook for you all the time, you come home, your supper's ready, and now there's a baby, you come home and you're like, yeah, there's no food. Maybe there's a way to approach that, but the key is to prepare those steps. And I think it's in a preparation of being a parent that we have to work on. Because the more that we prepare dads and moms to how to communicate with each other, because let's be honest, for the first 2 years of having a child, it's really hard on a couple.
Oh yeah.
It's really, really hard on a couple. But if communication is not there and they don't know how to express that kind of stuff, we're talking about fights, we're talking about yelling, and unfortunately, sometimes some couples don't make it.
Yeah.
So I think communication is the key to give the dads and the moms some tools that like how to communicate about what's going to happen later. Because at the end of the day, there's no great book that's going to tell you how to be a good mom or how to be a good dad.
Mhm.
All you're going to try to do is like to raise the child as best of your abilities. But let's not forget, you were raised one way, the husband was raised another way.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenge for both parents is how to raise the child together. And that comes with communication. 2020, we're finally at a place in society where a lot of women are like, you know what, dad wants to be involved.
Yeah.
And they want to leave that place also for the man to be involved in the child's life. So there's that opening that we didn't have when we're talking 20, maybe 30 years ago, because the role of the dad used to be seen as a provider.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about immigrants' family, for a lot of countries, it's still like that.
Yes.
The role of a man is a provider. Do we give them an opportunity for them to explain to you what they've been through? Because we're talking about immigrants' family that come here with their kids and we're like, oh, le choc culturel. I don't like to call it le choc culturel. I like to call it c'est une tragédie circonstancielle. And why I say that, it's because le choc culturel, it happens in your country when you know you're leaving your family. You know you're leaving everything you know for the better and the wealth of your kids. You're moving to another place that you don't know. That's a choc culturel. When you get here, it's une tragédie because now you're like, I'm a doctor, or I was a mechanicien, or I had a big profession in my country, and I come here and my diplomas are not even reconnus. So now I got to start from the bottom. You have dads that used to make so much money in their countries. They're here doing 2 3 jobs, and after that you have organizations saying, without them knowing. But like, oh, I don't think the dad is really present in the kid's life. Yeah, but did you get the time to understand the reality of that family? Maybe the dad is doing 2 3 jobs that is not allowing him the time to be part of some activities, but that he gets to see his kids maybe on Sundays or maybe just in the morning. So I think entre intervenants, if I would send a message, please take the time to listen to the people that we're working with before we even start making a plan d'action. And we want to make sure that like our stats are good, and we want to make sure that like, on répond aux bailleurs de fonds. But before that, we want to make sure also that we're answering to the needs of those people that we're trying to help. And also, it's not a topic that's easy on the ears for everybody when you're talking about, dad, because dads, they're supposed to be men, they're supposed to be strong, they're not supposed to be showing their feelings, they're not supposed to be talking about their problems. So now you're putting the man in a situation, comparing to les principes de la masculinité, in a position that like, oh, he's not that strong. But at the end, it's not about being something and not being something. It's about what are the needs that I have or that I need to be a great father and to be able to give back to my kids. And I don't know one dad that doesn't love his kids. I don't know one of them.
Neither.
But I could tell you, I know thousands of dads that don't know how to show love to their kids.
Yeah.
But it's not that they don't want to. They're uncomfortable. They don't know what they should do and how to do it. So society, because we still live in a world that like we're kind of afraid of what people say about us and what people look at us in our household. So I think that's a big issue. But I think the more and more we start talking about it, the more and more people are going to be more comfortable with it. And there's a lot of organization that been existing and helping dads in Montreal and all over Quebec. And sometimes you don't hear about those organizations, but if you talk to those organizations, they'll show you their list. They'll be like, oh my God, we get tons of calls, or like they're really busy. But it's not something that I think society is ready to put on the front line, but should put on the front line. Because if we're going to talk about family, and let's be clear, I'm including everybody, but if we're talking about moms, dads, but let's make sure that we put stuff in place for mom and dads, and make sure that at least their both names appear in important documents. Because even at the birth, still, name of the mom, and you have name of the other person. So it's like, who am I? Am I that important?
My husband was like, I never felt so insignificant in my life. Like, he's like, we had this baby together and it's just your name all over the baby. Like, literally.
It's true. What? It's true. And it goes far, because you would think between me and you, we would think that like, okay, it's easy to change. We just put that on a paper. Oh no, we have to go back in politics, and there's a lot about it, and it comes from society. So I think the more and more myself and all the workers that work around paternity and those organizations that help families, the more we're trying to bring the point to the light, I think the more we could make a difference. But to be honest, me, I'm not really a politic guy, so I focus on what I can control. So and that's why
it's way better to not be like, yeah.
And that's why right now I'm actually working on the new podcast, Histoire de Père, which is a good friend of mine, Jerry, that started that. And I'm saying we're always hearing the mom side. So it would be nice now that I'm on this podcast, we're going to start having people and dads to come talk about their paternity, and to have a place where dad feel, oh my God, I'm allowed to share that. Like, I love my kids. And so that's what I'm working on right now. So we started our first episode last week.
That's super exciting, and I think super needed. And I'll definitely do a link to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here today, Mahndo. I think what you're doing, the work you're doing, is just super important. And I think, like you said, this is a conversation most of the time where we feel like, as women, we feel like we're alone, but we also really do feel like it does seem like most of the time it's just a woman conversation. And it's just so nice that you're bringing men into that conversation, and you are making it about parenting, raising the next generation of kids as co-parents, so That's really fantastic. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
No problem, my pleasure. And if I could finish with that, I always like to say that let's never forget that our little boys of today are our fathers of tomorrow. So,
Exactly.
if we could help them as a society to raise them as great men, I
Exactly.
think that's why we all do this.
100%, 100%. And I think if we can raise great men, then a lot of the women's issues that we see, this is the way. There's
Yeah,
no other way that the woman issue is going to be resolved. We need men to help us.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, with that being said, the work you're doing is extremely crucial.
Thank you. But I do it because I love it. So
Yeah,
I will
100%.
keep doing it.
Amazing. Thank you so much.